come into this life and you come into adulthood with all these ideas that basically are run unconsciously through an unconscious collective called the culture. And nobody knows why certain ideas get promoted and others don't, and why we believe in or we try to adhere to them. Hardly anybody questions if they're actually good for you, intelligent, and sometimes you do that and everything seems unfair. This is unfair. This is unfair. This is unfair. Why do people do this? And then you're just perplexed by how unfair everything is.
Yeah.
But, there's no real substance to this matrix here. You have to wake up out of it. And if you wake up out of it, you can come back as a guru to wake others up out of it, or you just can transcend the whole place, or just lived out a quiet, simple, happy life and not participating in any of that for happiness, for any real reality. It's just a dreaming vortex. But no one is consciously dreaming, or no one has any lucidity in this dream, in this place. And that's the problem. And it doesn't matter if there was a little more lucidity. You get to a certain place where you reach the edge of the borders of the dreaming, of the door number 1, door number 2. Like, if all your choices are door number 1, door number 2, and door number 3, and in variations on that theme, well, what do you get?
Just that.
Yeah.
You just get that. So you just get more variations of that.
Yeah.
And if that's all you ever see and experience is just another variation, a little bit better, a little bit worse, anything to stimulate you to believe some more of it, that's all it is. There's no means to see that. It's just a big matrix of dreaming that everyone's participating in, primarily in an unconscious collective. And everybody's blaming somebody, like, the government. I'm a victim of my parents, or, I'm a victim of this war or something. Everybody's blaming somebody else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
There's no one to blame.
Mm-hmm.
There's no... Is it unfair? Yeah. Is there someone to blame? No. The only thing there is to do is to walk out of there, go to the realizer, stay with the realizer, love the realizer, and realize the realizer. That handles everything. It takes you out of the matrix. So what? In the matrix, he takes which pill to get out of the matrix?
The red pill?
The red pill.
Red pill. So he gets out, and then he has to live a conscious process now.
Mm-hmm.
He's not in that world of all those dreams. So when he enters into the world of the dreams, he's aware that it's what?
Just
It's
constructs,
a dream.
Yeah, it's a dream for control.
Yeah.
It's not a dream for
For freedom.
happiness.
Yeah, happiness, yeah.
It's not about happiness. So the world's this construct of a whole bunch of unconscious collective ideas about happiness, and it's all mixed up with survival and dominance of that and power of that survival. Who gets to have the best survival, the easiest, the funnest survival, And it's just a bunch of games and like that. It's not about waking up. So at a certain point, people incarnate, come into this dream, this matrix, and they get a feeling that it's not right, and they get a feeling that they need to get out of it. And that's when the guru manifests in their life. The guru shows up and begins to tell them what it is not to be in a dream, what the real is. And they have a life, and they begin their life in the real. But you can't have a real life in the real and kind of try to make the world seem kind of real and that's going to work out, that it's not the matrix. You have to reject it. You have to see it for what it is. And that's where you all kind of floundered for a long time.
Yeah.
You just kind of think like...
Yeah.
The matrix is a dream of control. It's not a dream of happiness. And this is just... The culture is a dream of control. It's a collective, unconscious mechanism of thoughts bouncing into other thoughts and moving along and this and that. But it's all about you as the separate one, disconnected from the source of who you are. the true reality of what you are. And you are told you are separate, go out there, and through experiences you will find how to be happy. That's what you're told. Most people don't even get to live a life where they even get to half survive well enough.
Yeah.
They're being tortured, they're being starved. That's the majority of people on this planet. So the minority of the people who get to be able to survive and with some comfort, they're told that in that comfort you will find fulfillment and happiness. And everybody's going around like, okay.
Where is it?
And you're told not to trust yourself, not to trust the source. It's out there, you have to get it, and all these dreaming of all these minds and experience, that's where you're going to find it. You're not going to find it by being yourself, by doing exactly what you want. See, the culture will never tell you to do exactly what you want because it doesn't trust that anybody knows how to do what they want or that doing what you want is a good thing. But if you really examine what you want, is you want to trust your impulse to true happiness, to true reality, which means you have to wake up out of the matrix of untrust, of doubting yourself. If you only have one good impulse, and that is to go to the realizer and realize what the realizer is realizing. You say, that's the only thing I want. That's what I'm doing. No, your family's not going to be happy about it. The culture's not going to be happy about it. The TV show's not going to be happy about it. Why isn't anybody happy about that impulse?
It's not part of the culture.
Yeah, it's not part of the culture. So it's just all a bunch of control, yeah. It's just the matrix. Is it benign? No. Is it happy? No. Is it good? No. Is it troublesome? Yes. Is it really complicated? Yes. Is it conscious? No. It's all unconscious. How do you deal with a whole bunch of people that are unconscious? Well, that's your job.
Yeah.
Every day.
Yes.
Every day, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Just,
You see people repeating
wait
patterns
yeah.
based on beliefs they have endlessly that only what? Deteriorate them.
Yeah.
Make them unhappier, destroy their opportunity to be happy,
Completely sabotage themselves.
completely sabotage
Day
themselves
after day.
day after day.
That's what they're doing.
Yeah. It's just a whole bunch of thoughts that keep traveling around and feed off of each other, and there's no really causing agent to any of it, It's just these lower thoughts keep building off of each other, and no one inspects them, and no one rejects them as unintelligent or painful. And it just keeps going like that. That's why, as you get older, say, the Republicans don't make any sense. The Democrats don't make any sense. My boss doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
It's not fair. It doesn't make any sense. And anybody could say that and be right.
Yes.
So that's the funny thing. So but everybody's looking for, there's an original causing agent that got us off the wrong track.
Yeah.
There's someone who set up a bad conspiracy or a bad plan that we all have to follow. That there's someone responsible for that. But there really isn't really anybody.
Mm-mm.
So it's up to each individual to say, I can do what I want, and I trust myself, and what I want is the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And if I want to reject anything that's not true, that's up to me. It's fine. And most people are blind followers. They don't stand to themselves and say, I can do what I want. They're just blind followers, paying tribute to all sorts of clumped on beliefs that we don't know where they originated. We just have a sense they're not fair and they're not good, but then we don't feel like we cannot not follow them. That's something so inherently terrible or stupid about ourselves that will ruin it for everybody if we do what we want. What the secret is about each person is what they really want is to be free.
Yeah.
What they really want is to know the heart.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's what they really want. So their real impulse is the true impulse. So in everybody person, that's the real impulse they have. You know, they don't have the impulse to destroy each other in the world. So everybody's kind of psychologically destroying themselves because they can't move into their own spirit and say, this is what I want. That's what's happening. And this is why this is a difficult time and a hard time for everyone psychologically. So it doesn't matter if you have more stuff, it doesn't make it easier. You know? If it doesn't have more distraction, it doesn't make it easier.
Yeah.
And that's why it's hard for someone to know that what they really want is to wake up. And that's their real impulse. That is the real true impulse of every heart of everyone. You know, so burning the seed of egoity has to do with burning all these beliefs that are covering up that each heart has an impulse to awaken. And that's what they want. And they want to be free to want it, and they want to be free to come into the room of it. And they want to be free to stay in the room and realize it. And that's what each heart wants. But really, to get to the real impulse of what you want to be free, you want to realize God, you want to be the bright, you want to awaken, you want to be the Buddha, you want to be the Jesus, you want to be the God person, you want to be awake, you don't want to be manipulated by all these minds of unconscious dreaming, you want to go about and just be open and be loving and free. And that's the deal. So the real impulse every heart has to do what they want is not a childish thing about, I just want to get away with shit and be bad. It's not that impulse. That's a reaction to not being able to do and go towards what you really want, which is to wake up. So as just a few people have the evolutionary possibility of waking up. No, everyone's at the door. Everyone's here with that impulse. We're destroying the world because we're not getting to do what we want, which is to awaken. Everybody has that impulse. Everybody wants to be free to follow that impulse. But it's all been squashed down by this, psychological matrix, that is all unconscious. And when you try to make it conscious, it seems like this overwhelming battle, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. But it really isn't an overwhelming battle. It's just you saying, I can do what I want. And you walk into the room. You begin. Just you knowing that. Mm-hmm. But what you really, really want is to be free in your impulse to awaken. That's what you really want. It's all covered up with all this kind of gunky stuff. So I taught for 25 years, to get this gunk out of the way and all this cultural conditioning and all this unconscious reactivity, and we examined it. We made some of it conscious to look at it and decide about it. But the more we looked at it, the more we decide about it, it's just none of it really means anything or matters, and it doesn't matter who's to blame or where it gets started. It just matters that you came into the room with me. Yeah. And so we don't really have to consider that forever and look at that at all. You have to be in the room and be free and do what you want like I am. You have to imitate how I am in the room and be that. Be happy. And do that. Be powerful. Be happy. Be free. And the world is not going to do anything to you because, everybody's too busy feeding this unconscious matrix mind.
Exactly. They don't even notice.
They don't notice anybody or anything. And they're all just so afraid of their impulse because they believe the basic brainwashing is your impulse to do what you want is bad. So don't do it. Like you're just going to screw everything up. And if you think that, doing what you want, is good, and you want to put some good effort and create change, you're just going to struggle with that forever. And it's never going to satisfy you because that's just a branch off. That's not the direct impulse that you really have. The direct impulse you really have is to awaken. That somehow you know that only to be really free and to be truly yourself, you have to awaken to that any other impulse can't accomplish it. And the only way you can awaken is to go into the room where there's no sleeping anymore. You can't come in here and say, you can't come into my company and say, I'm trying to get fulfilled by this, and this is going to work on, and I special me, I got Academy Award, and look at my cleavage, and I'm going to get a face jump, so I still look young, because that makes me feel happy. No, none of that's bought here in this wakeful company. It's just like, oh, don't bother with any of that stuff. Just be here as yourself, as you are. That's it. That's how I am. That's how I am as you are. Just be that. Don't touch any of that stuff. But we've examined it for years. And so what's been your conclusion? So
It's all the same. It's not, doesn't bring you anywhere.
and there's no one to blame about it either, is there? No.
You just have to decide.
You just have to decide
You just
that you're just
feel it. You
going to
know,
reject
that
it
you're
now.
done. Yeah.
You're done. And rejecting something, it's not a negative connotation. It just means you outgrew it. I'm done with this. I
Don't
outgrew
wanna do
this.
it.
I don't want this anymore.
Yeah.
And come into the company of already happy is not a difficult thing. It's just like, it's all easy. Everything's easy about it. You come into the room and your condition is happy now. Instead of you have a plan to get happy. Yeah. So you're out doing your plan about getting happy, being sad and depressed, or happy sometimes it's working, mostly happy it's not working out. But then you think, I got to get back in that room again with that woman, with that lady, where there's nothing to do in that room but just be happy in that room. Do what I want, be happy. Without having to do anything. Wow, ooh, can I do that? I'm kind of self-conscious about it. So you come in the room again, and you say, hi, lady, that's happy already. I got a plan about when I leave the room and how I'm going to get happy. And she's like, she starts making fun of it, She's just like, don't go there. Just be in the room. Just love me in the room. I'll love you in the room. And you leave and you go out again. And you say, wow, I feel really good. Going in that room with her feels really good. I think I feel so good that I think I can make this realm happy.
Yeah.
I think I can go out and get what I want and make it work out for me because I just came from a happy room and I don't know, I feel better now. So you want to use it like an idea or a drug or, energy drink or, you want to use the energy in the room of already happy to go out and bring it to the matrix and make the matrix work out.
Turn it into your sonic screwdriver.
Yeah. And it doesn't work that way, does it? Huh? All you can do is stay in the room, stay there. And everything is answered. Everything is given freely, happily. The energy, the buzz of who you already are, you begin to realize, that energy in the room, I used to think it was just coming from her, but I think it's coming from me too. But it's not like a me. It's like, like there's no separation between us, We're all just like that one big person of that energy. Wow. What? So, is there a separate person? Like I'm different from her? She's different from me and she got her own energy and I get the energy from her. She gives it to me because she's nice? And everybody else in the world is kind of mean and stingy so they don't want to give it to you? What is the deal with this energy? So you begin to understand, that the energy isn't exclusive to anyone. It's everyone, but the Guru is aware of that. So the Guru is showing you how to be aware of it. So you slowly come into that awareness of it. And in that awareness of it, you begin to say, like, it's not a separate thing, We're all arising in this energy. We're all arising in this transmission already happy. We are already happy. But see, you keep leaving the Guru to try to use what you know and trust and love in the room with the Guru in the world.
And try to fix the world.
Yeah,
Try
you
to
can't.
fix it.
You can't. And the more you try to do that, the more you see how the world is is really difficult and unsatisfying. So you really get kind of freaked out and upset, and I gotta get back to the room. But every time I'm in the room, and I go out and I go back and I try to make this work out, oh man, it's worse than ever now. Maybe I should stop going to the room because this place is worse than ever now. That's because you keep comparing and keep going in and out and mistaking that the only place that actually is the room is the room. You know, there is no other place. You can't reject the world. The world is not a place. It's just a bunch of lower ideas colliding in each other that build momentum, fall apart, build momentum, and fall apart, build momentum. So in the midst of all that collision of ideas, the Guru appears and says, come on, come over with me, you know. And you begin that life, but you keep going back and forth, and you keep trying to use the transmission already happy to somehow take these ideas and make them work. But they're bad ideas. So bad idea, you can't infuse it with more energy to make it better. It's just a bad idea. You have to reject it, say. The idea that happiness is outside of yourself, the idea that you can't already be happy, the world supports those ideas, you know. So you have to reject those ideas. You can't go out and infuse them with spiritual energy and somehow they'll be better. You know, it doesn't work that way. Each person has to come to their impulse and trust it. Their impulse, their real impulse, that I can do what I want. And what I want is to realize already happy, to know the truth of happiness. And not to go out and do something stupid or fuck up things because they're selfish and mean and lazy. Only people are selfish, mean, and lazy because they're not aware and directly moving towards realizing their true impulse. That's why they're all those things. They can't be those things that they're moving into their impulse. And their impulse to do what they want is to realize already happy. To be already happy, not to get happy through experience, through the world. I mean, if we were in a higher world, it'd probably be a little more difficult because things are a lot more pleasant in the higher worlds. But this world is just a matrix of mostly very selfish, lazy, vain, power-corrupt ideas, and being good doesn't really matter here. It's just being able to be special, to win at something, to have more money, to have more looks than other people. So being good has no value particularly. No one practices being good here. In the higher worlds, there's a nobility and a recognition for being good. So, you know, doing good deeds, doing loving deeds is recognized. Here we're like, I'm a kind, caring person means nothing. You can be selfish and lazy and mean as the day is long as you're not breaking any man-made laws. It's like, you can say whatever you want about how good you are. And people will go, okay, all right. The standard is so low that almost anybody can fake it. Because there is no standard here. There's no standard for goodness. There's no standard for love. There's no standard for peace. There just isn't any peace. There just really isn't any love. There really isn't anything good here. It's just a bunch of lower natures running around hyping everything up. That's just a bunch of really just being bratty and spoiled and lazy and selfish. And so the bar is so low, kind of messes up with your impulse, though.
Yeah.
To go towards what you want, which is to be already free. That the only impulse you really have, and it's the most beautiful impulse of all, you're completely suppressed and cut off from it. That it's a good impulse. You don't know it's a good impulse.
Yeah.
But somehow you have to know that it's okay to want it. You know? Mm-hmm. That it is your real impulse. And that any other impulse is not real. It's just about the unconscious collective dreaming of the world we're living in. That's it. So you don't need to have the heart on the left, the middle, the right. You don't have to go through all the doors and all the chakras. You just go right in. He's there. He's already happy. You don't have to do anything but love and serve and stay in that room. And you'll find that everything that is true is fulfilled, that everything is ridiculous falls away, And even though you lived in a world with this unconscious matrix of really, nobody knows why any of these thoughts get going, why anybody acts on them, and why it all feels pretty bad, and why there's no peace and no love, and nobody's able to really get along with each other, and nothing's fair, and the Republicans are ridiculous, and Democrats are ridiculous, and the tax laws are ridiculous, and high heels are ridiculous, and steroids are ridiculous, and cheating at sports is ridiculous, and everything. And why do good people, cheat at sports? And why do women, get faceless? Why can't they deal with aging? Why is it all ridiculous and silly and vain and stupid? Because the original impulse is not understood as a really true impulse that each person has. Everybody's ready for enlightenment. Everybody's ready to come into the room, But it seems like there's only a couple of people in the room with me. Why is that? You gotta
Ridiculous.
You gotta reject the world. Yeah, you gotta reject the world.
Yeah.
You're gonna say, my impulse to be free is the truest impulse.
Yeah.
It's real, it's true. And that there's a realizer here to show me that. That is the person to trust. That is the only person to trust.
Yes, the only one.
Only one.
Only one.
Everyone you cooperate, you're kind to, but to trust with that impulse, no, nobody even wants to believe that impulse is real, true, or good. They want to just think like, well, if everybody did what they wanted,
That's so.
it would just be awful. Because everybody, what they really want is terrible. It's awful. Because everybody's vain and selfish and mean and rotten. But that's not the impulse. That really isn't the impulse. That's the covering up of the real impulse. That's a lie around the real impulse. The real impulse is, I want to awaken. I want to be happy as I am already now. Not some other time. I'm getting old. It's not going anywhere. It's not going to get anywhere. It's just getting old and dying. That's what it's getting. So what did you do all this for? For everybody else who believed in what? That you can't already be happy. That's what you did it for. Unless you go in with your impulse into the room of enlightenment. So you did it for everybody else. Boy, you're going to be mad at everybody else, aren't you? You're going to be mad at the whole goddamn world, your mom and dad, the government, the Republicans, the Democrats, the Tea Party. Where you grew up, where you're living now, your job, your boss. You're going to be mad at everybody. So that's what's going on here. It's awful without enlightenment. Don't leave home without it. It's like I said, give me everything that's great and beautiful in this world and say, hey, Santosha, this is the world. We got beautiful mountains and beautiful clothes and fun places and fun games, and we got beautiful and interesting waterfalls and fast cars and all this great stuff. Here, all of it will be yours, but just give up your enlightenment for it. No thanks. Not for a single damn moment. Not for any of the worlds, higher or lower. Not for any of the beings, higher or lower. But anybody can come into the room of enlightenment if they want to. Anybody can. Anybody can be as I am. Come into the room of enlightenment with me. You have to come in not as a cynic, but someone who's rejects the world. Someone who's ready to come into the room with simple impulse. Trust themselves. They trust their impulse. You gotta trust yourself. You gotta trust your impulse. You gotta do what you want. And if that is what you're going to do, that's going to bring you into the room of enlightenment. See, that's what you are. That impulse. In your unenlightenment, you are the impulse to come into the room. Once you're in the room, you start being the enlightenment now. See, you're not separated from God. The only thing you have, and in your own enlightenment, that's the key, is your impulse to come into the room of enlightenment. Not to fix the world, not to get fulfilled by the world. Nothing about the world is going to do any of that. It's just a matrix of dreams. It's not about waking up. It's about sleeping. So your impulse is your key. And it's a good impulse. So that impulse is, I want to come into the room. I'm ready. I deserve. I'm true. I'm a true being. So already happy is my condition. But no one in this world believes that. No one in the world knows that. No one in the world is awake except when I come into the room with the Guru. So I have to be in that room. I have to stay in that room. And you find that is your condition. It's who you really are and what you really are. And you can never leave the room once you wake up. So I don't come out of the room of enlightenment and go, okay, what's going on here? Okay. What? I just know what all the realms are. All the planes, high and low. I know what every place I go is about. I know what people are believing in. I know that everybody's heart has the impulse to come into the room of enlightenment, but they're blocked and obstructed with, you can't do what you want because your impulse is wrong. But the only real impulse is to come into enlightenment. That's the only real impulse each heart has, each person has. There is no other real impulse. Fortunately, in unenlightenment, there's a key all the time, and that key is that impulse. I gotta do what I want. I gotta find out. That's your key, you know? That's what makes it unbearable not to come into the room. So that's the work Adidaya came to do, and he says he's done it, so it's here. And so I'm an agent of bringing people into the room, into that room that he is, that I am. And, you know, it seems like slow work, but it's not always going to be like this. It's the ego, the seed of egoity is broken up, so people are going to begin to trust their impulse to come into the room of enlightenment. In burning up the seed of egoity, he opened the door with the heart of trust again. So it's not just that egoity at its root isn't a cemented idea that everybody believes in. He broke that idea up, but he also opened the heart of trust too. So both happen at the same time. And so we'll see some of that in our life. We'll see that opening more. We'll be happy about it. You'll be doing the work of that. You'll be living that more and more. And why not your enlightenment? Yeah. You'll be like complete agents of that freedom. Be free first, and then everything will adapt and change, and you'll see a world that is quite different than what we ever could have even imagined by just, trying to work it from the egoic point of view. So, okay, that's the deal. You don't have to be optimistic, it's just true, you'll just see.